So this is our dragon fruit stand, and we've got about 7 or 8 varieties in here, maybe 9. Originally when I put these in, I did them on these posts that are, actually this was one of the original ones, and it's done on landscape timber posts. Don't ever do that. Landscape timbers are not strong, they don't last long in Florida, they rot very quickly. Of all of the original posts that I had, that's the only original one still standing. Any day now it's going to fall over and rot too. So I came back and I redid them with treated 4x4s and did a lot of extra treatment down at the base and extra painting and coating with copper. Hoping these are going to last longer. If you really want to do them right and you're not a cheapskate like me, put concrete posts in from the beginning. It's well worth it. I didn't, but you should. But these are the replacement ones are starting to grow out a little bit here, you can see, and before too long they'll all look like this older one here. But we've got several different varieties. They do really well here. Dragon fruit grows nicely in Florida. There aren't a lot of issues. We are having some down on the end down there that have some, we're not sure if it's a fungus or a bacteria, but we're just going to go ahead and kill them off and restart with those and start fresh. Also have a Indonesian white seedless guava over here. It's kind of all by itself, so we stick them in the corner. Oh, we've got some fruit coming along.
Nice.
This tree has done really well here. Guavas do very easily grow nicely in Florida, but there are a lot of fruit flies. The Caribbean fruit fly will get in and lay eggs on them. So a lot of people bag the fruit once it starts, once it's set, and that's it's helpful, but they do grow well here. So we do have a couple of jaboticabas that we're growing in here. This is one of our first ones that we put in early. This one's been in the ground a long time. It didn't grow well for a while because we really weren't getting enough water. Jaboticabas like it very wet. We do have all this plastic down here as we're trying to do a little weed control. But if you keep jaboticabas wet enough, they're going to do really nicely. If you haven't had jaboticaba, it grows, it looks kind of like a big purple grape that grows right off the trunk of the tree. It has an excellent flavor. To me, it tastes a little bit like a cherimoya. I had a lot of people really disagree that that's what it tastes like, but they all agree though that it does taste good. Not a whole lot of meat on them. It's a little bit of flesh between the seeds and the skin that you can have, but it's worth trying because it really is delicious. So these are the corner where we have our bees. Right now I've got 5 hives going, and we like having bees. We don't really have them much for pollination because most of the stuff we grow they don't pollinate. They don't pollinate mangoes. They don't pollinate. Actually, the avocados they will a little bit. They do definitely pollinate lychees, but our lychees aren't doing much right now. So we mostly keep around. I like to have bees, and we do get some honey from them, and that's about it. So I mentioned most of our avocados now are up in the front circle because of drainage issues, but as you can see here, I've got this, we finally mounded one high enough, and it looks like about 18 inches is about the height you want to go for with a good mound, and I actually have some fruit starting this year. So it's working. Here's a snake.
Oh, nice.
Coming to see you. We get a lot of these black racers in the yard, and we like having them because we don't like having mice and rats. And there it is on Celeste's feet. We like snakes, so yeah, nice. Usually they're a little more timid than that. That one's used to us, I guess. So this is the resting place of our last carambola tree. We grew some star fruit and just didn't have a lot of success with them. So anyway, we dug them out now, and now in this spot we've got a Asian pomegranate. Asian pomegranate is one that does do really well in Florida. It's not very good fruit, but it does fruit well. So if you want a lot of bad fruit, this is the one to go for. It's very tart. The seeds are hard, but it is very productive. So it's if you're for juicing, it's fine. For eating though, it's tough because of the lots of hard seeds. But it's also a very nice looking bush, especially when it's loaded with fruit. So to me, it's more ornamental, but you can juice them fine. So. Back corner here where we got a couple of mangoes and a couple of avocados. This first one here, this is a Wirtz avocado, which is a dwarf avocado. And you can kind of see this is one where we've been growing avocados in this spot for 8 years now, and this is the best we've gotten so far. It just doesn't get good drainage back here. They get stunted. They don't grow well. Now Wirtz is a dwarf plant anyway, but not this dwarf. It's just this is not a good spot for avocados. But we haven't learned anything yet, so we're still trying. We also have back here a Pickering mango. Pickering mango, another dwarf. It does really well in Florida. So I've had professional growers say that if they could redo their groves, they would do them all in Pickering because it's low maintenance, it's disease resistant, and it has a really good fruit. I didn't get a lot of fruit on this year. You can see them all kind of clustered down there at the bottom, but still good. Over here on this side, I've got a Coggshall mango. This is another one that didn't produce very good this year, did really good last year, but we're okay with that because we don't really like the fruit that well. But it's at some point I might top work this one, but it's doing okay. Back here, lemon zest mango, and this is another one that's kind of fallen out of favor in that its disease resistance isn't great. And you can see this year it produced, I think I got 2 fruit off of it this year. So yeah, not great. Another one that may end up getting top worked at some point. What else we have over here? We've got Mysore raspberry. This is one of the few raspberry varieties you can grow in Florida, and it does really well. It is voraciously thorned, so don't put it in an area where you get a lot of traffic. It will shred you up, but it does have really good fruit on it, little black. I think it's already done for the year.
Yeah, I think if we prune it, we might actually get more.
Okay, so it's been leggy, yeah, it needs to be pruned. All right, so a couple of things we've got back over here. We've recently just planted another Ross Sapote. Ross Sapote is one of our favorite fruits of all. It's related to a canistel, a little bit different shape. We had which you'll see in a little bit, we had a very large Ross Sapote that was doing great that for some reason died last year, and so anyway, we're planting some extras to make sure we have enough. Along this very low fence line back here, you can see we've got some pomegranates. These are a number of different varieties of soft-seeded, mostly Middle Eastern and Russian varieties that are the best fruit-wise, but it's really not cold enough here in Florida for them. I've had these in here for, I don't know how many years. 5 years at least. And I've never gotten any fruit off of them. I would whack them down, but they're just not really in the way, and kind of hoping that maybe if we do get a cold winter one year, I might get some actual fruit off of them, but I haven't as of yet. You can see, let's see, this is another avocado here. This one is one that's also mounded, not quite high enough, and you can see it does have some fruit this year. We'll see how well it does. This is a John Way, named after John Beecher and Wayne Clifton, who it was Wayne kind of pointed out to John that it was growing in John's yard, that hey, this is a good one, so we've kind of maintained it. And I haven't had fruit off of it yet, might this year it looks like, but you can see it's getting a lot of this fungus on the leaves. It needs to be sprayed, but its disease resistance isn't great. You're never going to see this one because it's not like a real variety. It's just that's what we decided to call it. But
there's some out there.
There's
Wayne
some,
sold some.
And I don't know, this, it's either fungus or, oh, not fungus, it's an insect damage. It had it really bad last year and almost defoliated the whole tree, so you have to keep up with that. But anyway, like I said, it does have some fruit started here. We'll see how that goes this year. Back behind me, you can see this lychee that's been whacked down. This was an ohia lychee that had been in the ground for 7 years probably. Beautiful tree, nice and full. Just last year I think it finally started to bloom, but it never set fruit, and then it didn't set fruit again this year. So we finally said, all right, you've had your last chance. So we whacked it down and we put a new mango in, the dwarf Hawaiian. Yep. Dwarf Hawaiian mango in there in that spot and see if it does better. It can't do worse. Over here we have a couple of other lychees. I think these are both Brewsters. It's possible that one's a Brewster and one is a Mauritius, but I'm pretty sure they're both Brewsters. And they're growing well, but again, they produced no fruit this year. They did bloom, they did set some fruit, but it's...
No, they didn't bloom this year.
But
they were loaded last year.
I thought they had bloomed at least. No? Okay.
New growth.
So I think Brewster is well known for being a variety that alternates years anyway. But, so nothing off these guys this year, except green. This is an M4 mango that we just put in not too long ago. And actually, I think we put it in last year, didn't we?
It's taken a while to take off.
Yeah, it's looking good finally, but it did sit there as a little scraggly stick for a long time. But I think it has put out some new flush. So we'll see how that does. And then back behind us here, you can see some Sapadillas. The big one on the left is Alano. That Alano that was our first Sapadilla we put in there, and it just did fantastic. And heavy producer. It's slowed down a lot now, probably because when we first put it in, it was getting a lot of nutrient from the mulch and everything that had been in that space before, and we really haven't mulched it again since then. So, but it's still doing okay. This one over here is Silas Wood. It is a dwarf variety. Actually, I've never taken any height out of that one. I just take off some branches because if you don't thin the branches, they get so much fruit it'll break them. But that's a really good variety. And then back behind, well, down here we have Tikal, and it's been in there only a few years as well, but it's doing well. And then behind that we got a couple of small varieties that we've just put in. So this is going to end up being our nice big stand of Sapadillas with about 7 varieties now?
6.
6,
yep.
Okay. All right, and here we have our one lychee that did really produce okay for us this year. This is a Mauritius. This is really probably our favorite that we have. It has a really nice perfumey flavor to it that you know, lychees ought to have, I think. And this tree actually almost died a few years ago. It completely, our irrigation on it got shut off. It completely defoliated, and it was just a trunk there, and it's completely filled back out, and now it's producing fruit. So these, if you keep some water on them, these guys bounce back nicely. The bags on here are to keep the birds from stealing our fruit, and it works about half the time. But without it, it works none of the time. So over here, this is our Popu Calais or lemon meringue mango. This is my favorite mango of all, and this tree is really producing well this year, and I'm very happy about that.
It's only been in the ground 3 years, maybe?
Yeah, because we got fruit off it last year too. I think like the year we put it in, we got 1.
Yeah.
And then last year it had probably 10 fruit on it, and this year it's probably got more like 30. So actually we've already gotten several off of this tree. They're coming early this year as well, which is nice. And then back behind me we have our Namdok Mai, which is Valerie's favorite tree, though she's now I think more a fan of Glenn than she is of these. But this tree is not on our regular drip irrigation, and so it does not get watered as well. So last year it had no fruit on it. This year it did get some more hand watering, and so it's doing better. But yeah, they should be turning pretty soon. So over here near our koi pond we have our kind of temperate plants with peaches and plums. There aren't many peaches and plums that you can grow in Florida. The number is increasing. There's several varieties of peaches now that you can grow, and we have one called Scarlet Beauty Plum, which is the only plum I know of. Maybe there's some others as well.
For the south half of Florida, yeah. Okay,
so we're not that into them. We're just kind of experimenting with them, but we've been really happy with, especially the peaches, have been producing really well. Let's look and see if there's any fruit on any of them right now. They just finished. The plums do have some fruit on them. You can see these nice little red plums in there. Probably about right. Getting close anyway. That one.
I picked one too early. Let them get really
Still a little
soft,
hard.
yeah.
I'll give it a few more days. But anyway, these guys are doing really well here. They don't require a whole lot of special stuff. They do. You want to check the chilling hours for where you live. Some varieties need as little as 50, which you can get 50 hours in Miami. Some of them are up to still, even in Florida, about 200, which most of Florida still gets, but you just kind of probably want to check on, make sure you're going to match the area that you're in. And Celeste grows a few herbs and stuff in here as well. And there's a few other kind of experimental banana varieties in the back, as well as some chamas that are just kind of sitting there.
But they're delicious.
Yeah, I don't like them.
You don't like them?
I'm not a chama fan.
They taste like cherries.
Mostly this bed back here is ornamental, but we do have some macadamia nuts in here. 2 macadamia nut trees, and you can see even down this small, they're producing nuts. The real challenge of growing macadamia nuts in Florida is competition with squirrels. Squirrels will kind of do anything to steal your macadamia nuts. This is right back near our house in our area where the cats stay, so hopefully the cats will keep them scared away. So far so good. I haven't seen squirrels get in this close, but everything else back here is a couple little banana plants in here and some bird of paradise. Oh, another peach. But mostly
sweet potatoes.
Sweet potato. Oh well, she's got some stuff in some pots here, yeah, and some earth boxes with some lettuces. Yeah, sweet potatoes. What labeled as Okinawa, but it's not Okinawa spinach.
Okinawa sweet potatoes.
Okinawa sweet potato. So yeah, sweet potatoes in Florida, you can put them in the ground. Some people do it, and it's almost more like a ground cover. They really will go insane and crazy and everywhere, though. If you really want to do them for growing the potatoes, do it in a pot. It's much easier.
If you have a small yard.
Even if you have, we've done them, because we have a big yard, and we've put them in the ground, and you end up with a huge patch, and it's hard to find the fruit in there because it's everywhere. So
we get bigger potatoes in pots.
Yeah.
That's been our experience.
Well, and again, you can contain it. You can say when you're done with it, you can pull them up and be done with it, rather than chase them around. Because we have places where we had them in the ground years ago, and they still pop up now and then. So put them in pots, big pots. So we got a little section over here with some putarias. We've got an F2 canistel over here. That these are all fairly new plants. They're not taken off. Canistels have a really bad reputation for getting root bound in pots, and if you let it get I've pulled up ones that I've had in the ground for years, and the roots are just a big knot, and even though it's been in the ground, they just never really recover from that. So you can root prune them before you put them in, or you can just keep them, make sure you're not get in a big pot before they get into the ground. This one's been in the ground for a while, and it really is not doing much, so at some point I may have to pull it up and try to root prune it and see what it's doing.
It has no irrigation either.
Well, it doesn't have irrigation back here, so that's another. I hand water it.
I do too.
Yeah. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. These two back here are green sapote, and this is another one that is traditionally, it's just a very finicky, hard plant to get to go. Once they get really going, they're not too bad. Getting them started is tough, and this is 7th or 8th one maybe that we've tried here, and well, not here, but in different places, and there's something that they're not getting, or something that it's not acidity enough, or it's not acidic enough, or there's a nutrient they're missing, or they want it wetter or dry. There's something that we're doing wrong. It's just that these aren't super happy. They're still alive, which is better than most, so we're going to keep them going. But it's a really good fruit if you can get the plant to be happy, but that's the tricky part. So this is probably my favorite mango tree. It's not my favorite mango. This is Valencia Pride. I just like the growth habit of this tree. It actually is the very first mango we put in, so it's been here for over 8 years.
Yeah.
And I keep it pruned down pretty tight because it is a fairly vigorous grower, but I just like this tree. It produces wonderfully well. It's a later mango, which I'm not crazy about, because then they have to hang here for a long time, and I have to look at them and watch the squirrels get them while they're not ready yet. But I just really like this tree. The mango itself is good. It's not over the top exquisite, but it's a good solid mango. This one, you can see it produces nice big large fruit, and I like the growth pattern on the tree. It's a nice solid, heavy tree. It's easy to prune. It's
And we've had some good ones.
we have had some good ones. We end up, you know, anytime you have a later season mango, you're more at risk of anthracnose on the fruit, of squirrels and things getting them, of having heavy rains and having the fruit split, and having heavy rains, having the fruit get watered down, all the kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of advantages to the earlier varieties, but just look at that. It looks so nice. It just makes me happy. This is what we call our bee tree. This is a live oak that has been, it's kind of in the central part of our yard. We call it the bee tree because it's got a hollow in it that occasionally has feral bees in it. When it's had the feral bees in it, I've gone in and tried to get them out. I've tried to, once they're gone, I'll spray foam in there and seal the hole up. They'll come in and chew out the foam, and a year later we got a new hive in there. There was a colony in there just recently left, so the hole is open again. I'm going to put screen over it this time, do it right. But this has kind of been our area though to plant non-fruiting, what do you call it, ornamentals. We have a whole bunch of orchids that are hanging in here. We've got a bunch of gingers underneath, bromeliads. I've got the big staghorn fern up in here, and Celeste has got some root crops, some turmeric and gingers planted underneath. So we'll probably add in a little bit there and let you take some look at this. But it's kind of nice to have this kind of area that's not just fruit trees, but just has some ornamental too. And there's orchids growing all the way up into the branches and stuff, so that's nice. So we got another area over here with bananas. It's in front of our chicken coop, and this was another area that really got overgrown and we had to scoop it out and start all over again. So we've got about 5-6 varieties around here in the front. As they fill in, they're going to make some extra shade for the chickens when they're inside. And so again, keep up with your bananas so you don't have to go through and murder them every few years. This is our Sweetheart Lychee. This one has produced a few for us this year, not a whole lot, but we did get some. Let's see how these are. You want one?
Yeah.
Sweetheart's good. It's one of those that has the little chicken tongue seed, which means you get more flesh on it.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Little tiny seed. Not quite right. Need another day or two, but not bad. You see all the damage on here from the leaves being eaten. That's from Sri Lankan weevil. It's a beetle pest that we have here in Florida. I can probably find one here. See one right now. They like particularly lychees and longans, though they do get several, almost anything fruiting they will do some damage to. This one's gotten it particularly bad this year, but they don't vector any diseases, which is good, and the chickens really are being loud, so it's egg laying time. They're very proud. Anyway, but so this one's done okay this year, but this has not been a stellar year for lychees for us. So these are our longan trees. We have a Butte and a Big Jim, and we're just noticing that they haven't bloomed yet this year, so we don't really know if they're going to or not. Longans are kind of the lesser lychee. The fruit's not as good as a lychee fruit, but it's much later, and so it's kind of like helps you wean you off of your lychee season. But there are some that are pretty good. Some of them also have a kind of a medicinal taste to them, depending on your palate. But a lot of them also produce very, very heavily as well. And so, especially even if you had a bad lychee year, you might make that up with some longans.
We'll see.
We'll see. This is a Trompo canistel. Trompo is probably our favorite variety of canistel that we've had. It grows very well, it produces very heavily, and it's a very good fruit. This one's only been in the ground for about 2 years, I think. And it's doing really well. The tree is finally, it's taken off, which again, with canistels, sometimes they're a little bit iffy on getting started, but this one's doing fine. So we're excited about that. We'll probably get fruit off this next year. Back behind me, this Mango with the big round fruit is Harvest Moon. It's not supposed to be a very good producer, and ours produces fairly well, but it's a later season one. I think it was mostly selected because the fruit is very attractive, makes a nice pretty round fruit. The fruit's pretty good, but it's just its production values aren't the best, so I think that's why a lot of people don't grow it. But we still got one back here. And over here, this is Dot. I have heard several people say, a few, that they really love Dot, and that maybe that Dot's even their favorite mango. We're just not big fans. This year, it usually produces well. Dot produces very well. This year, they've not looked good. We had a lot of them that split. We had a lot of them that are getting this, I don't know, it's fungus or if it's mite damage or something. Looks rusty on there. Makes them look like potatoes. We got that really bad with Pina Colada last year. But this year it hasn't produced that much, and about half the ones that it produced have split on the tree. So maybe it probably, because it's not our favorite, it didn't get the same amount of watering that some of the other ones, the favored varieties, get better watering. But if you love Dot, great. This one may end up getting top work. But it's a really nice shaped tree. It comes down here at the bottom and branches out 4 ways, and Celeste really likes that. She likes more of a bushy tree than a tree. So actually I could probably, I guess, top work it with 4 different varieties at some point and just see how it goes. So I mentioned earlier that we had a big raw Sapote that died. Well, this is it, and you can see how the trunk was here. This was 12 feet tall and full, loaded with fruit, when it just all of a sudden everything turned brown and it died. We were thinking it had to do with fluctuations in the amount of water it got. I don't know, it was weird. However, it is coming back. It does have new flush coming out, so we're hoping it's still going to be able to use that root system that it had. But it's going to be a while before it recovers to where the other one was. But this is such a good fruit. It's like a canistel, but it's a little more acorn shaped. Look like little pumpkins maybe. But it's super sweet. It's got a kind of a caramelly kind of a flavor to it, and I need to stop talking about it because it's making me sad that we're not going to have any this year. But raw Sapote is very good. Celeste grows a lot of Inga, or ice cream bean. This is the oldest one we have in the ground. This is Inga vera, which is often sold in Florida as Inga edulis, but edulis is a very different species. But Vera has these kind of little squared pods on them. If you've ever never had ice cream bean fruit, it's like a bean pod, and what you get on the inside are the seeds covered in this white fluff. And there's not much fluff on there. But the fluff is very sweet and messy. And inside that fluff, there's the seed. The seeds germinate very quickly, though. A lot of times if you get fruit that's a little overripe, the seeds have already germinated inside. But that little bit of fluff around the outside is really the only edible part. And it tastes a little bit like vanilla ice cream. It's mostly sweet, but there's a little, this is actually good. This is pretty good one.
It's a little underripe too, it looks like. No? Still good?
Good. But you can see the amount of flesh on there is very, very small. So as much as for the fruit, these are grown as a green manure plant. They grow very vigorously. They love wet roots. If you've got an area that's even constantly underwater, Inga will probably do really well there. So people use it as a chop and drop, just for, for composting. It does really great for that. But there are some varieties. The Inga edulis, for example, has pods that are about 3 feet long and rounded instead of squared. And actually there's a fair amount to eat in theirs because it's a lot bigger, but these are pretty small as far as the amount of fruit on them. But it is a nice tree, and if you've got a wet area, it grows very well. This is our poor, pathetic little tsze lychee. This has been in the ground for a number of years, and this is as big as it's gotten. Tsze is a very unique variety. It's hard to propagate. It's slow to grow, but it does have the absolute best tasting lychees I've ever had. They're so sweet. They're just candy-like. Last year we got a few fruit on it. This year nothing. I have been told that if you graft this onto a Longan rootstock, it becomes more vigorous. We're going to try that and see. But it also is the absolute favorite food of the Sri Lankan weevil, and every single year this thing just gets shredded down to nothing. So it's probably another thing that stunts it even more. But we're going to keep trying, and you can see he's getting some water now, so hopefully we can get some better results out of this. So this is Celeste's favorite mango. This is the coconut cream mango. It's a Zills variety. It's actually the only patented variety of mango that we have in the U.S. And it is just phenomenal. It's not taste quite as good as the lemon meringue mango. She's making faces at me. She disagrees. This is her favorite one, just as far as the mango itself goes. There are complaints of it not producing heavily. Ours produces wonderfully well, but again, the ones that we like the most get the most attention, so it maybe gets a little bit extra mulch and a little extra water than some of the others. But ours produces very heavily. It has a weird growth pattern, and I'm not sure how much you can tell from this, but a lot of the branches grow with kind of a twisting pattern to them. So it never is a good looking tree. It always looks kind of jumbled and twisted, and I mean, just you can see the branches, even though it's bent from fruit, but they also have a twist to them. It's hard to prune this into making it a nice looking tree if you care about that. But if you don't, it has a really, really good fruit on it that's tastes of coconut and sweet and creamy, and it's a really, really good mango. And even if you don't have it at the peak of ripeness, it's very forgiving. And so if it's a little under or a little overripe, it's still an excellent mango. This is our Heck Ip lychee. Heck Ip is also called the black leaf lychee, and sometimes you can tell its leaves do look darker than most of the other ones. Heck Ip gets confused with Sweetheart. There was at one point ones that the Sweethearts were originally imported, I think, as Heck Ip, but there actually are two different varieties. They're very similar in a lot of ways, which is how they got a mistake. And this one also has the chicken tongue seed. This one did produce a little bit for us this year, so we're looking forward to being tall enough to actually getting any of those down. But we'll try those sometime. So this is a Big Ron mango. Big Ron mango originated down on Pine Island. They have something down there that they call an elephant mango, which is, it's a very large mango, but it's really not edible. I'm not sure why they grow them, maybe as a rootstock, but several years ago someone selected a cross, and it's probably got elephant mango in its genes, but one that finally tasted good. Now there's some disagreement on whether or not this tastes good. Celeste doesn't like it at all. I think it's okay. It's not great, but the fact that you can get a 10-pound mango out of it is kind of a reason to keep it around. So we've got it going. I like it. This year it's got loads of fruit on it. If I really wanted big ones, I should probably thin them, but I'm too lazy to do that, so we'll just see how they turn out. But although it's not a great mango, when it's dried, it's actually okay for me. So we'll probably dehydrate a lot of this, but just just the sheer volume of fruit that you get off of this is it's worth growing. So over here we've got a couple of extra mangoes, and we've got in the back we've got an Inga Lorena. It's another Inga species. Hasn't fruited for us yet here in Florida, so we're still waiting on that one. Cac mango and a orange sherbet mango. These just put in a couple years ago. We do have fruit down here on the orange sherbet. Actually, we had one that fell off that wasn't fully ripe that we ate, and it was still pretty good. So, so that's always positive. And cack we have not had any fruit off of yet this year.